welcome back to Beyond the Cow. Today we are making this gorgeous puffy 6-strand French braid. So this is what it looks like, and it is a beauty. I've said they're all a beauty, and they really are. They just kind of progress in their level of beauty, I guess. So this is a progression on the last stitch we did, the 6-strand rope cable, the puffy one that we did last. And as you can see, this is looking like the French braid, which we did a couple of stitches ago. I think we did a French braid. This is just gorgeous. If you made the last stitch, the puffy rope cable, this is done in a similar way. We had 2 parts of cable for the previous one. This one has 3 parts, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it just requires a little bit more concentration, and that's why we've left this one until last. Okay, if you haven't made any cable stitches with us yet, if you've not made any cable stitches before, then I highly suggest you have a look at the intro to cables video, and that will be somewhere up on the top of the screen now, or in the description box below. There will be a link to that video, and I suggest you go and watch that and then come back and join us for this video. If you have made cable stitches before and you are ready to get cracking on this one, then grab your hook and yarn and let's get started. Okay, now this pattern has a chain of 52 and actually has 60 stitches in that row. So if you want to make this bigger, wider, say for a blanket or something, then you will want to do a repeat of 52 chains. Okay, you'll want to do repeats of this pattern that we're doing. Okay, so it would be 52, 104, 52, 104, 156, and so on. Okay, that's the way you want to do that if you want to make it bigger. And also the other thing is, I have sometimes told you can start with a chainless foundation single crochet or double crochet row. On this one we can't do that. We have to do chains because we need to work a certain amount of stitches into each chain. Some of them will have more than one, so you do need to make your chain first this time. Okay, no cheating. Okay, so let's start with 52 chains. So 52 chains, and then meet me back here. Pause the video and join me back when you've done 52. Okay, when you have a chain of 52, you are going to do a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Okay, the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the first chain 3 counts as a double crochet. You know I like to use the back bump, so I'm going to go into there. So a double crochet, and that first chain 3 is our first double crochet. Okay, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the next 25. So you'll have 25 plus these first 2. Okay, so do 25 more and then meet me back. Okay, make sure you have in total, including your chain 3 and your first stitch, make sure you have in total 27 stitches. Okay, when you have those 27, we are going to work into the next chain, and we're going to do 6 double crochet in the next chain. Okay, 6 double crochet into the next chain. Now I'm not going to work into my bump this time. I'm going to work into 2 chains, or 2 parts of the chain, because it will stop it from pulling. Okay, so 6 double crochet into that chain. There we go, 6 double crochet into that chain and 6 double crochets into the next chain, and again work into 2 parts of the chain to stop it pulling. 6 into this next one as well. There we go. Okay, so you've got 27 stitches and then 6 and then 6, and then you're going to double crochet into the next 21 chains. The next chain will probably be quite small, so make sure you don't miss that one. Okay, so 21 double crochets to the end of the row. Pause the video and I'll see you soon. Okay, at the end of row 1 you will have something that looks a bit like this. Okay, don't panic, it will become straight, and if you've done any the last 2 cable stitches, you will know that this is normal and it does come straight. I assure you of that. Don't panic, just trust what we're doing and it will come good. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom the camera in slightly and then we'll start row 2. Okay, so before we start row 2, just double check that you have 60 stitches on your row. 60 stitches, okay? And then we will continue with row 2. So, oops, we are going to not get our yarn in a tangle. We are going to chain 2, and this counts as a half double crochet, and we're going to turn our work. So because this comes from this first stitch, we will skip the very first stitch, and then the next we're going to do is a front post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. So we start with the second stitch and we're going to do 9 front post double crochet. Okay, so pause the video and make your 9 front post double crochet. Okay, when you have 9 front post double crochets, we're going to do 2 back post double crochets. Okay, 2 back post, pushing those stitches to the back, and then we're going to do another 9 front post double crochets. So as it's 9, pause the video and make 9 front post double crochets. And when you've done those 9 front posts, you want to do 18 back post double crochets. So you should have finished just before this set of 6 stitches in that one stitch, and then you've got your second set of 6, and then you'll be doing the next 6 stitches along. So back post double crochet in the next 18 stitches. Okay, when you've done those 18 back post double crochets, it's time to go back to front post. So we're going to front post around the next 9 stitches. Front post double crochet. Okay, when you've done those 9 front post double crochets, we're going to do a back post double crochet, just 1 back post double crochet. And then we're going to make a 5 half double crochet puff stitch. Now let me show you on my previous piece. Okay, so these are the puff stitches that we're going to be doing, and you can see they aren't on every row, and you can see we've got them at the other side as well, so they're kind of staggered. So we have one down here and then one here and then up and then up, so they kind of alternate rows. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now a 5 half double crochet puff stitch, if I can get my words out. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so we're going to do this puff stitch, and we're not doing it into a stitch or around a stitch. It's going to be between the next 2 stitches. So you have your stitch that you did your back post double crochet around, this one here, and then this is the next stitch, and we're going to work in this space between stitches. Okay, so the space between stitches. And what we're going to do is yarn over as for a half double crochet, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through and pull up a loop to approximately the same height. Okay, and then we're going to do that, that's 1, and then we're going to do that 4 more times to make our 5. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, each time yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. Okay, so you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 loops on the hook. Okay, 11 loops on your hook. Yarn over, and now you might want to hold these loops and just sort of pull down slightly. Okay, yarn over and pull through all 11 stitches, or all 11 loops. Okay, and that is your half double crochet puff stitch. Okay, 5 half double crochet puff stitch. And if you ever saw that in a pattern and it said a 4 half double crochet puff stitch, well, you'd do that 4 times, or if it was more, you'd do it more times, and that's just how you do that stitch. Okay, so then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch, right next to where we've just worked. Okay, that kind of comes over the top of your puff stitch there. Okay, and then we're going to finish this row by doing 9 front post double crochets, and then we'll do our last stitch together. So pause the video, do 9 front post double crochets. Okie dokie, when you've done those 9 front post double crochets, we're going to do a half double crochet in the top of our chain 3. So in the top of the chain 3, a half double crochet, and there we go, that's row 2 finished. So you can see it does still have some curvature on it, but it will come straight when we do some more. So let's continue on to row 3. Row 3 is where it's our repeat is going to start, so I will pop it on the screen now so that later on you'll be able to rewind to the right place. Okay. Okay, row 3, and as I said, and as you've seen on the screen, this is where the repeat starts. Okay, we are going to start making the cable. Okay, so first of all, chain 2 and turn your work, and as always that chain 2 will count as a half double crochet. Okay, now we're going to back post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. So skip the first one and then back post around the next 9 stitches. Okay, so generally if we've done front posts on one row, we'll be working back posts around them on the next row, as we did here. Okay, and if we did back posts, we'll probably be doing front posts on the next row. So that's one thing, you can kind of start to get some intuition on what you're going to do on the next stitch. Okay, so then we are going to do a front post double crochet around the next 2 stitches. So we've got a front post here, and then we've got our puff stitch and then a front post. So we're going to do it around the 2 front posts and just skip the puff stitch. Okay, so front post around the first stitch, skip the puff stitch, and then do a front post double crochet around the next stitch. Okay, if I forget to say front post double crochet or back post double crochet, if I forget to say the double crochet part, you know that mostly it is double crochet on all these post stitches. Okay, So then we are going to do a back post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. Okay, next 9 stitches are a back post double crochet. Okay, now these next 18 stitches are where we're going to be making the cable. Okay, the cable will be over these 18 stitches, and the 3 parts of our cable have 6 stitches each, hence being called 6 strand French braid. Okay, so just sort my pattern out because I think I've just skipped something. There we go. Okay, pattern's right now. Okay, so upside down every time. So we've got these 3 parts here. Okay, so 6 stitches, 6 stitches and 6 stitches, and then at the top here we have got 6 stitches here, 6 across here, and then the ones you can't see which are going up this way, there's 6 there as well. Okay, so we've got 3 parts going on, and that's all made over the same 18 stitches. Okay, so that's what we're going to set up now, our 3 parts. Okay, if you made the last cable stitch, this will seem slightly familiar to you. So what we're going to do is a front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Okay, so we're going to do 6 front post double crochets. And one more. So this is our first set of 6. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the last front post double crochet that we made. Okay, so we're going to go down to this stitch we just made, the stitch below your chain 2, and do a front post, yarn over, a front post double crochet around there. Okay, now this chain 2 doesn't count for anything. Okay, that just helps us get to where we need to be. Okay, then we're going to turn our work around, and we're going to do a back post double crochet around these next 5 stitches that we just made. Okay, so back post double crochet around those 5 without getting your yarn caught. Getting it nice and caught today, aren't I? What am I doing? Okay, so 5 back post double crochets. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2 and turn our work around again. Again, this chain 2 doesn't count for anything, it just helps us get to where we need to be. We're going to front post around these 6 that we just made. Okay, so come down to this first stitch, the one below your chain 2, and do a front post double crochet. And then around the next 5, do a front post double crochet. Okay, make sure you get your stitch at the end and not your chain 2. Make sure it's the stitch. Okay, so what we've done is we've actually worked 3 rows here of our post stitches. So we did the one on the row, on our regular row, and then we did 2 more rows all in one go. Okay, this is our first part of cable, for the cable stitches. So this is what we did on the previous cable stitch, so you will recognise that, and if you've done it you'll know how to do that quite easily. If you haven't done it before, then just take your time, rewind the video, and watch that again if you need to. Okay, for that part. So that part will start to become familiar because we will do it a few times. Okay, so then we are going to do that on the next part, but we need to get our hook from here down to here to continue on the row that we were on down here. So we kind of need to get it back to base, as we're calling it in the pattern, getting our yarn back to base. So what we're going to do is chain 2, And then we're going to look at our chain 2 on the back here, which is on the next row down, so just here, okay, and we're going to do a slip stitch in there. Okay, so again, this chain 2 that we've just done doesn't count for anything, just helps us get to where we want to. So slip stitch in that chain 2 on the back there, and then just below there we have our stitch at the bottom, just here, okay, and we're going to slip stitch into there. Okay, and that is our hook. Now should be, might need to just pull it slightly, but that's our hook in the top of this front post double crochet right at the end of these 6 on that bottom row, just where we want it to be, so we can carry on as normal on our regular row. Okay, so we're going to repeat that on the next 6 stitches, so I will show you it once more. So what we're going to do is 6 front post double crochets. Okay, might go slightly faster this time, so just pause the video if you need to catch up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, and then chain 2, and then come back down and do a front post double crochet around that last stitch that you made. Turn your work around and do a back post double crochet back along these 5 stitches. Okay, and then chain 2, turn your work around and do a front post double crochet back along the row of 6 stitches. 6 front post double crochet. Make sure you don't get your chain 2, make sure it's your actual stitch. And there we go, there's your 3 rows completed. So chain 2, come down to your chain 2 below at the back and do a slip stitch. And then a slip stitch in that first stitch at the bottom there. There we go, you're all ready to continue the row. Okay, so you have these 2 parts here, which are what we call our cable parts, so 2 parts for our cable here. Okay, and now what we're going to do is continue our row along, and we are going to do a front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. So these next 6 stitches will become a cable part on the next row around. Okay, so we don't work the actual cable on all 18 stitches, but they all come into play in their own right at the right time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But there will be eventually 3 parts. Okay, so front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Okay, and when you've done those 6 stitches, you will want to back post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. Okay, back post double crochet the next 9 stitches. Okay, after those 9, we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 2 stitches. And then finally 9 back post double crochets and a half double crochet in the top of the chain 2, 9 back post and a half double crochet. Okay, here we go at the end of row 3. There we go. Okay, so that is our right side. This is the side that you will see at the front at the end. Okay, so it is time to move on to row 4. So chain 2 and turn your work around, and we're going to do a front post around these first 9 stitches. Okay, remember we always leave that first stitch, so do a front post around the next 9 stitches. Okay, when you've done those 9 stitches, we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then we're going to do a 5 half double crochet puff stitch in the space between what the stitch we've just done and the next stitch. So a 5 half double crochet puff stitch. If you remember what that was, we just yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull up that loop, and then we do that 4 more times. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, pull up a loop, so that's 2, and then 3, 4, and 5, and you should have 11 loops on your hook. If you want to count them, there should be 11. Just hold these down slightly, just pull. If you can see here, you can see the tension that's going to be there in a second. So pull and then yarn over and pull through all 11 loops, just like so. Okay, and then yarn over and do a back post double crochet around the next stitch. Okay, there we go. So this puff stitch is between 2 back post double crochets. Okay, and then you are going to do a front post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. And when you've done those 9 front post stitches, you want to do a back post double crochet around the next 6. Okay, 6 back post double crochets. Okay, so when you've done those 6 back post double crochets, we are going to start back on the cable part, these 2 parts here. Okay, so what we're going to do is this first part, we're going to call this is the first part and this is the second part on this particular row. Okay, so we're going to push this first part away from us, just fold that down, okay, away from us. And then this second part we're going to sort of fold over here so it's near to our stitch. Okay, if that makes sense, just bring this over so it's near to where we're working. Okay, so push that first part away and bring the second part close. Okay, and we are going to do a back post double crochet around these 6 stitches. Make sure you don't go around that chain 2 that you had, just go around the stitches. Make sure you get the first stitch and not the chain. Okay, now this first stitch can tend to go quite big at the top. If that happens, don't panic, it's not a major problem. So you can see that my first one there is a little bigger than a normal stitch would be, but don't worry about that. Okay, so now you can just bring this away and continue working around those 6 stitches doing your back post double crochets. Okay, and that's as simple as that first part is. Okay, so then make sure you get your stitch at the end here and not the chain. Okay, leave that chain there. Okay, that's our first part done. Well, second part. Our first part's over here, but we've done this part now. So what we're going to do now is do a back post double crochet around these stitches here. So we're just going to sort of bring this over. Okay, so we're just going to tilt this over here, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet around these 6 stitches. Okay, so make sure again that you don't get your chain, that you go into your around your first stitch. Okay, so let's bring this over, bring this part up and work around your first stitch with a back post double crochet. And again, this first stitch might go slightly bigger, but don't worry about that, it's absolutely fine. Okay, continue working around those 6 stitches. Just like so. And again on this last one, make sure you get the stitch and not the chain, leave the chain there behind. And there's your 6 back post. So let me just pull that out. So this is what it's looking like now. We've got this part that we did first is sort of leaning over this way, and the part behind is sort of coming in the opposite direction behind. Okay, so what we're going to do now is chain 3 and take our hook out of that loop, and then you're going to put it back into the first stitch of this set of 6. Okay, so the last stitches that we did go into that first stitch there, from back to front, so towards you. Okay, bring the hook towards you and then pick up that loop and pull through, and this will fold this over a little and it will be sort of puffy in half like so. Okay, that's what we have now. Okay, and then this second part comes back across, and there's our row. So this is what we've done so far. We've done this part of the row, all of this up to the cable. We've got this first part we made is pointing this way and on top, and the part that we made second and then we folded over is behind. Okay, if I turn it the right way around, you can see this is how it's starting to look. Okay, if it looks confusing, don't worry about it, just continue with what we're doing and it will end up like the sample I showed you. Okay, so if your work looks a bit like this, then you're on the right track. Okay, so to continue, we have our hook up here, okay, and we're going to be working around these stitches here, okay, down on our original row. So you just need to not worry about where your hook is and just come down and do your stitch down here, okay, and that will just pull it to where it needs to be. Okay, so we're going to do a front post double crochet around these 9 stitches. I'll do the first couple with you. The yarn over, come all the way down and do your first front post. Okay, you might have a bigger stitch there, like I've said before, but don't worry about them, it's fine. Okay, and then just continue along your row making your 9 front post double crochets. Okay, so 9 front post double crochets, and then meet me back here. Okay, after those 9 front post stitches, we're going to do 2 back post double crochets, 2 back post. Okay, and then we're going to finish the row with 9 front post double crochets and then a half double crochet in the end chain. 9 front post and a half double crochet. Okay, so this is the look of the row we've just done. So this is what we've just done along here. I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to turn it over and show you it from the front. There we go. So you can see how this folded piece is working over and starting sort of our braid, if you like. Let me show you my sample piece, and here we go. So this piece here is this piece here working up, so this is going to continue up and then start to curve around. So if you see this, it comes up and then it curves around, just like a braid. If you've ever done plaiting or braiding of hair, then you'll recognize this as that. Okay, so let's continue with the next row, which is row 5. So doing well. If you're with us so far, you're doing well. Okay, so as always, we are going to start with a chain 2 as our half double crochet. Turn your work around and do a back post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. Okay, so when you've done those 9 back post double crochets, you want to do a front post double crochet around the next 2 stitches. 2 front post double crochets. There we go. Your work might want to curl in a bit, but just don't worry about that. Just bend it back and push it out of the way. Okay, so after those 2 front post double crochets, you're going to do another 9 back post double crochets. Okay, another 9 back post. Okay, so when you've done those 9 back post double crochet stitches, we're going to do front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Now you may be looking at this thinking, which are the next 6 stitches? Is it these or is it these? Okay, it's this part here. Okay, this part here, because this part actually should be slightly further up. So this part being slightly folded, we're just going to work our way around it. Okay, so we're going to do a front post double crochet around each of these 6 stitches. So just kind of find your piece of work, find the very first stitch at the top, make sure it's the top of that row, not the second one down, and then just do a double crochet around that first stitch. Okay, and then you're just going to work your way along. I'm going to work a front post double crochet around each of these 6 stitches. Okay, it does help if you have a finger underneath to just kind of sort of uncurl this if you like. So just go around each of those stitches. Make sure you're going around the post and not into the top of the stitch, because the top of some of the stitches may be slightly larger, so make sure it is the post. Okay, and there's your 6th stitch, and there you go. So this is what you've got now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's pulling this up towards the right. Okay, just extending that, and that's how that's going to look there. Okay, so now we're going to work some more of the cable. I mean, you could kind of say that's part of the cable, but as we're looking at the pattern, it says that the cable is the next part. So this is where we're going to work around these next 2 parts at the back. So you can see that natural gap. You've got your first 6 and then your second 6. Okay, so we're going to work on these 2 cable parts now. Okay. Okay, so we're going to work these parts in the same way that we did the original 2 parts further down, when we did 3 rows at a time. Okay, and we did the chain 2s. So we have done this technique before. Just make sure you've got your first part here on this flat part behind. Okay, these first 6 stitches. Okay, so what we're going to do is a front post double crochet around the first 6 stitches. Make sure you're going around the stitch and not the chain that's behind. Okay, so that first one, make sure you're going around the stitch and not the chain. Okay, and do 6 front post double crochets. Okay, there's our first 6 front post double crochets, and then we're going to chain 2 and then work back around this last stitch we made. Do a front post double crochet. Okay, turn your work around and make a back post double crochet back along the next 5 stitches. 5 back post double crochet. Okay, there we go. And then chain 2, turn your work around and work back along, doing 6 front post double crochets. Okay, make sure you get your stitch at the end and not the chain. There we go. So we've done that again, how we did on row 3, I think it was. We've done those 3 rows all at once there. Okay, and we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch in this chain at the back here, and then slip stitch in the back of that first stitch on the bottom row, just as we've done before. Okay, that brings us down to the row that we started on. Okay, so we're going to do that all again on this next part. Okay, so we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Okay, chain 2, do a front post double crochet back around that last stitch you made, turn your work around and do 5 back post double crochets. I think I just kicked the tripod there. If you saw it jiggle, the camera jiggle, I just kicked the tripod, so sorry about that. Okay, so we've just done those 5 back post double crochets. So chain 2, turn your work around, and 6 front post double crochets back along. Okay, again, make sure you get your stitch and not the chain at the end there. Okay, so there's your 3 rows. Chain 2, slip stitch into that chain at the back, and slip stitch into that first stitch at the bottom. Okay, and that brings you back down to the bottom row just as before, and you've now got 2 new cable parts. Okay, so these will be what we'll be working around on the next row. Okay, so let's move on to the rest of the row. Okay, let's continue the row and back post around the next 9 stitches. In fact, I'll tell you the rest of the row. Back post the next 9 and then do a front post double crochet around these 2 stitches, the ones that are either side of your puff stitch, and just skip the puff stitch in the middle. Okay, so we did this on the row further down on the other side. So just one around here, front post, skip the puff stitch, and then do one around here, and then to their front post, and then do the last 9 back post and your half double crochet. So 9 back post, 2 front post, 9 back, and a half double crochet, and I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, this is what we have at the end of row 5. Looking good, looking good. If you've never made a cable before, or if you've only made a very simple cable, you may be thinking this looks a little odd and you're wondering how it's going to work. But if you see these 2 parts here, just remember how it looked earlier on when we had 2 parts before we did this part here. Okay, so just remember that it looks slightly strange then. So trust that it worked out okay last time and it will work out just as good this time. Okay, so we are now going to do row 6, which is the last row of our repeat. Okay, so this is the last part of doing anything that's new. Okay, so we are going to start as always with our chain 2 and turn around, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet over the next 9 stitches. Okay, front post double crochet the next 9, and then back post 2, which you can see is there already waiting for you, and then a front post 9. So 9 back post, 9 front post, 2 back post and 9 front post, and then I'll see you to do the rest. Okay, so I've done my 9 front post, 2 back post and 9 front post. Now it's time to work around our cable parts. So we are going to do a back post double crochet around this second part, okay, but differently to before, we this first part here, we folded it away from us. This time we're going to fold it towards us, okay, so bring this first part towards you, and then we're going to work around this second part here, okay, so bring this first section towards you and we're going to work around this one here. So bring that over near to where your hook is, and we're going to work a back post double crochet around these 6 stitches. Make sure you don't get the chain caught in this. You want to go around your first stitch, okay, and do a back post there. Now remember, as I said before, your first stitch might go a bit big, so you can see there this stitch is quite large, okay. Don't worry about that, it's absolutely fine. Okay, and then just continue working along a back post double crochet around each of those 6 stitches. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5, and then on this last one, make sure you only catch the stitch and not the chain. Okay, so there's your back post, 6 back post double crochet. And then we are going to chain 3, and then we're going to do, as we did on this other piece, we are going to drop our loop, pop your hook into the first stitch from back to front towards you, so that's this big stitch here, the one that looks like it's sort of at the side, okay, and then pop your loop back on and pull through, and that just brings this part sort of folded around, just as we did earlier when we did this first piece, okay. Okay, so when you've done that, we're then going to back post double crochet around this piece here, the piece that we folded towards us, okay. We've got our hook in just about the right place there, you can see they match up nicely, so do a back post double crochet around these 6 stitches. Again, making sure that you don't catch the chain in the first and the last stitches, okay. So 6 back post double crochets, oops. Okay, and that is as simple as that cable part is. And this time we've got this, what we class as the first part, which we did second, but we've got this part now overlapping, and this other part is folded over at the front, okay. So we've got this one going in this direction and this one going in the other direction. Okay, turn it over to the front, and you can see how this is starting to form. Okay, they're going up, and you can see it's starting to form this braid. Okay, it might still look a bit like it's not to you, but it will. It will. As we work more repeats up, it will. Okay, so we're going to continue the rest of the row now. And we are going to do a back post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Now the next 6 stitches are these 6 here. So this is the part that was the very first part that we ever sort of folded. So it's a bit sort of looped around. It's not completely straight, but it's these next 6 here, okay. So just bring this down. This is where it should be, and we're going to work around these next 6 stitches. Now if you're not sure exactly where it is, have a look at your stitches here and you can see that this one here is the very last one that had a stitch above it, okay, and this stitch here has nothing, so it's this one here, okay, and do a back post around there, and then around the next 5 stitches. Might need to just take your time because it's slightly curved, and that's fine. Don't have to rush these stitches at all. Okay, so there's our 6 stitches there. Okay, so then we are going to front post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. So we're back onto the very, very straight piece and do a front post around those 9 stitches. Okay, after those 9 front post double crochets, we are going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're going to do another 5 half double crochet puff stitch in between the next 2 stitches. So we've done that a couple of times now, so you should be familiar with that. You're working up to 11 loops on your hook. And I'm saying this without counting, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's 11 already. There we go. Okay. So 5 half double crochet puff stitch, and then a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then finish with 9 front post double crochets and your half double crochet at the end. Okay, so this is how our work is looking at the end of row 6. This is the back. Okay, you can see you've got the back of all those where we worked up and then chain 2 and back along. Turn it over to the front, and this is how it's looking from the front. And this braid is definitely starting now. You can see how you definitely need more than one repeat. You definitely need to repeat it again to make it look like it's any kind of braid. Okay, and you've got these puff stitches here. There's one there and there's 2 there, and they, like I said, they just alternate nicely as they go up. So this very bottom of this piece is not quite straight. You can just give that a bit of a tweak, but the top is looking fairly straight, and you can see how it's all working up nicely from that initial sort of curved piece. It's working up really nicely. So the idea now is that you continue to work your repeats until, if you're wanting to make it a square, this should be approximately 12 inches across. If you want to make it into a square, then measure your piece across and work up to 1/4 of an inch shorter than it is wide. Okay, it doesn't matter what row you finish on, do a final row of half double crochets where you just do 1 half double crochet in every stitch along. Okay, doesn't matter what row you stop on. And yes, you work up to 1/4 of an inch shorter than the width. So if you've got 11.5 inches across, then work to 11.25 inches and then do your final row of half double crochets. And that is that. So you want to rewind and do row 3 now. And you can see that we have finished with our row pretty straight across. So it should be fairly straightforward as to where you need to work into. But I will just do you another row 3 now. I'll pop a time marker on here in just a second to show you where you need to rewind back to do row 3 and continue, but I will just do another row 3 for you now just to show you how you need to continue with having these cables here, okay? And then you can continue with repeating from row 4, okay? So let's do that now. Okay, so let's do row 3 again together because it is slightly different to how the original row 3 was. Okay, so chain 2, turn your work, and then do a back post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. Okay, when you've done those 9 stitches, we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 2 stitches. So that's these 2 either side of the puff. So we're just skipping that puff stitch again as before, and then front post double crochet around the next 9 stitches. No, back post, sorry, back post around the next 9. Okay, so we're now going to do the cable part. We've done those 9 back post double crochets, so we're going to do the cable part now. Okay, so we're going to front post double crochet around each of these next 6 stitches. So front post around the next 6, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then we're going to do that 3-row part again, remember. So chain 2, do a front post around the last stitch we made, turn your work around and do a back post double crochet around the next 5. Okay, there we go. Chain 2, turn your work around. Oops, getting all caught up there. And do a front post double crochet around the next 6. Make sure you get the stitch and not the chain, as I always say. And then chain 2 and slip stitch in the chain that's behind. And then slip stitch in that first stitch along. You should be getting a pro at this by now. Okay, and then we are going to... Okay, we're going to do the next part, which is this next sort of flat part here, and we're going to do the same thing. So front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. Okay, a couple of these stitches may be slightly folded in, so just wiggle your work around and find those stitches. Okay, the last one here is slightly under there, so just find that. Oops. Okay, and then chain 2 and then do a front post double crochet around the last stitch that you made, and turn your work around. 5 back post double crochets along. Probably becoming a pro at this by now, aren't you? You just know what's coming next. These parts can seem tricky until you've done them once or twice, and then you're there and running with it. Okay, there we go. Chain 2, turn around and do 6 front post double crochets. And the 6th one, make sure you get the stitch and not the chain. Chain 2 and then slip stitch in the chain at the back and slip stitch in the first stitch. Oops, without getting caught up. There we go, and we're back ready to start on the rest of our row. So we've now got our 2 cable parts set up ready for the next row. So we're going to continue along this row with these stitches here as our next part, and we are going to do a front post double crochet around these 6 stitches. And just like before when we did it over here, we are going to probably need to put our finger in behind, oh excuse me, put our finger behind there and then do our 6 front posts. So just make sure you've got those stitches there. It's slightly curled around. Okay, last one. There we go. So we've got these 2 cable parts ready for next time, and this part working up to the side here. And then we're going to continue along our row, nice and simply. We're going to do a back post around the next 9, and then front post 2, and then back post 9, and your half double crochet, and that is the end of that row. So once you've done those last few stitches, you can then rewind the video back to the start of row 4. So there will be a time marker on the screen any moment now for you to then rewind to repeat from row 4 all the way back to row 6, or wherever you need to finish off your work. Okay, so I'm going to leave my work here, having just finished row 3 again. I will probably do another repeat on this afterwards, off camera. But this is how it's looking so far, and then these 2 pieces will be overlapping and forming some more of our braid beautifully. So if I bring in the one that I made earlier, as I've already shown you, here we go, this is the one. And this is 2 full repeats. This is rows 3 to 6 done again. So there we are, and it is lovely, lovely. I love how it's working up, and I'm probably going to work on this a bit more. I have fastened off, but I'll probably just rejoin and continue working it, because it is gorgeous, and I think it would make such a good effect when you see it the whole way. And Charlotte, who did the pictures for our pattern, the pattern file, which you can find in our group, and that's in the description below, the Facebook group Beyond the Cow, she made hers up into a square, so in a gorgeous green. So if you want to see it all made up into a big pattern, you can go and have a look at that and see her gorgeous green French braid. So yeah, it's up to you how many rows you do or what you decide to do with this. I hope you've had fun with it and enjoyed making something which kind of stretches you a little bit if you're not used to making these kind of things. It's certainly stretched me having a go at these and making something different. It's been great, really, really good to make something completely different. So I hope you found this useful and helpful, and you've had enjoyed crocheting along with me. If you have, then please click that like button, give us a thumbs up. It is much appreciated. And yeah, come and show us photos of what you've made in our Facebook group. That would be great. Or on Instagram, #BeyondTheCal would be great too. So until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.